All right, Alter Reality Gamers, thank you for being patient with us, and welcome back to the ARG Circuit Series in Columbus, Ohio. My name is Kayla Nelson. I am joined today by Jeff Jones.
Hello.
And I've also got with me right now a special guest. He's going to be featured in our first Top 16 match. I have Eaton Guo.
Hey, what's up, guys?
All right, now, Eaton, you are the only Top 16 player and one of a very few number of players that actually took Evilswarms to success today. You actually made it to Top 16 with what you call Evil Beetle, which I love the name of that deck. What made you decide to play Evilswarms for this deck, or for this event?
You know, I played Evilswarm's last format back when, the main top three decks were Evilswarm's, Dragons, Spellbooks. I've always had, a thing against the meta, and I felt that Evilswarms were the least overpowered of the three, and I felt that they were, basically a really anti-meta-like deck, and I really wanted to give it a try. It worked out really well. I thought it was powerful, and I still think it's one of the best decks right now, even though people don't play it as much. But I feel like it has a lot of potential to do well, and it did do pretty well yesterday.
Absolutely. So what was your record in the Swiss?
Coming out round 9, I was going 7-2, so I finished 7-2. I lost both my feature matches, unfortunately.
We'll hope.
And what were the two decks you lost to?
Both Dragon Rulers.
And how many Dragon Rulers did you play?
I dueled against all Dragon Rulers except for two decks that were Fire Fists and Zombies, 2 Dragoonity Dragon Rulers, and the rest just standard Dragon Rulers.
And what you lost to, were they regular Dragon Rulers or Dragoonity Dragon Rulers?
My first feature match was against regular Dragon Rulers I lost to, and the second one, round 9, was Dragoonity.
So one each.
Yeah, one each.
All right, sounds good. Now, you have some interesting tech in your deck. Now, one of the things that sticks out the most to just about everybody that's going to see this is you main deck a Mystical Ref panel. Obviously, it's a very potent side deck card against the Dragon match. What made you decide to main deck?
I just feel that Ref Panel is one of the best cards against Dragons, because if you resolve it early game, you basically just guarantee your victory. Mm-hmm. It's also good against random cards like Odd Duality, Magical Mallet. I just had to look at all these cards before I came here. And I feel that 1 is not going to be dead. I didn't want to play 2 because I knew that would be dead a lot. But yeah. There's one combo in particular that I was trying to take advantage of my deck. I play 1 Allure of Darkness, and one of the combos I can do is I can activate my own Allure of Darkness and chain my own Ref panel. And if my opponent does not have any darks in their hand, when they draw 2, they get to discard their entire hand. That was something that I thought of.
That's actually pretty intense.
I'm pretty proud I came up with it myself. I'm sure people have thought of it before, but that's pretty clutch. I didn't get to resolve that yesterday, but I have done it a lot.
Maybe we'll see it in the feature match here in just a moment when we go live. But let's see. Other cards that kind of stuck out to me.
Your monster lineup. You play 2 Evilswarm monsters that people don't normally make.
That's right.
We have Azathoth,
and Ketos.
And you also have the O-Lantern in the side.
Correct.
So now O-Lantern started seeing a lot of play in the end of the last format, but Ketos and Azathoth definitely kind of were out there. And Thunderbird even, kind of fell off the radar towards the end of the format.
Yeah, you're only running 2 Thunderbirds. So for people who are familiar, what exactly do those 2 monsters bring to your deck?
What Evilswarm Azathoth does is it's a reptile with 19 different defense. If it's split face up, I can target 1 special summon monster in the field and return it to the deck. And the reason why I play this card is because it's searchable on King of the Feral Inns, which I play. If I have an Infection set, I can search Azathoth King of the Feral Inns, return Azathoth for, say, a Gurkion. The next turn I can detach from King of the Feral Inns again and search Azathoth again. It's like a Rhoda for Gurkion, which is pretty powerful. And, as far as, speed, all the other Evilswarms, Mandragora, Caster, and Ravage, bring out Ophion. All the other Evilswarms do nothing for that. So I'm just playing with some good Evilswarm cards. I need to keep the monster alive.
Absolutely.
As for Evilswarm Ketos, I like to play kind of like a toolbox strategy. Evilswarm Ketos contributes up the top one spell or trap card of the field. And one of the most powerful things about that is that it can get around skill drain because it attributes itself to cost, and I can search it off infection. And recycling Ketos with Gurkion is just really powerful. I was doing that all day yesterday, getting rid of vanities, making them -1, and it's a solid card overall.
Yeah, and the skill drain point is really valid because as I watched one of your feature matches, your opponent did have a skill drain out that was hurting pretty bad. So
yeah, Ketos being a searchable removal for that. I actually personally ran it in my deck at Nationals, and I got really good utility out of it. Now, in your side deck, this will probably be the last thing that we start discussing here. You run one-ofs of all of the graveyard hurting cards. You have Defissure, a Macro, and a Soul Drain in there. Now, obviously, they limited Dimensional Fissure and Macrocosmos and Soul Drain to one. So, would you be running any more of a particular one if you had the option, as opposed to running one-ups for each of them?
Yes, definitely. I would probably not play Macrocosmos over Dimensional Fissure and Soul Drain because my deck is hurt to some extent by Macrocosmos, and Dimensional Fissure is just much faster. I can play around Maxine Baylor. Soul Drain, I think that Soul Drain is probably the best card against dragons in terms of Dimensional Fissure does its job, but they can still get some dragon effects off. Soul Drain completely shuts them down. They can't plus off of 7 stars. Unfortunately, it is hit by Decree, and it is a trap, so it's a bit slower. So I'd probably go between maybe 2 Dimensional Fissures and 2 Soul Drains if I could.
Absolutely, and that makes complete total sense. For those who are just tuning in, that was Eaton Guo here. He will be our top 16. He is in our top 16. He is the only player to make it with Evilswarms. He will be going against Frazier Smith in the top 16 in our first live match of the day. One way or another, we wish Eaton and Frazier Smith very much luck in coming into the round. We hope that it's just a good match of Yukimons and we have some good playing going on. Either way,
thank you very much.
Thank you very much for being with us today.
Thank you guys.
Best of luck in your match. Okay, hop back here and let's do some commentating.
Top 16 players, welcome to the round of 16. You have 1 hour. You may begin.
All right, so we are now beginning the top 16 between Frazier and Eaton. Looks like since Eaton did just finish with an interview with us, they have not been able to roll off or shuffle yet, so they will be getting that done real quick, and we will be getting this started. Now, what are your thoughts going into this match, Joe?
Well, Eaton played against 7 Dragon Wars yesterday and ended up 5-2 against them. So it seemed like it was very much in his favor. Die rolls were probably very much a thing there. Well, I don't know how. I should have asked him how many die rolls he won if he could remember it. It was very relevant.
Absolutely.
So if he can get this die roll, it's a very downhill battle for Frazier because that means going into game 3. If it goes to game 3, he will be going second.
Yep.
And
I think one of the biggest things that it depends on is obviously who goes first. But even if Eaton does go first, if he doesn't get a safe zone or a forbidden dress to protect his Ophion, yes, Ophion, the key to survival in the deck, then I think that Frazier will actually have will be able to find some way to get around it. Obviously you have the 3 blasters and Flambeau guards and the Trigon, because he does play the Trigon as well. Yep. So you have the 5 targets for that, as well as the trap cards.
Yeah, Frazier does main 3 Phoenix Wing Blast and Mirror Force Sentinel, so if he can definitely play some Wing Blast shenanigans, chaining some stuff.
Yeah. One of the scariest things that I think that Frazier plays that Eaton needs to look out for is he does play an enemy control. So attributing a Dandelion that he does play, or a Trigon, or any of the other little guys, or Card Trooper, to take on a chain after infection's been activated or a pandemic's been activated, taking control of the Ophion and using it against him is probably going to be a big thing.
Yeah, he could definitely do some stuff with that. But Frazier does side Infestation Terminus along with Electric Virus.
Absolutely.
Enemy controller definitely would work there for Terminus to search for that and use that against him. Frazier also does side Royal Decree and Skill Drain. I'm very surprised. Honestly, I just feel like Xyz Encore is just a much more solid card against Evilswarm. So I'm very surprised to see that.
Frazier seemed less intent on Xyz Encore when we had him on for commentary last time, but let's go ahead and see what's going on here. Looks like Frazier did win the dice roll, so it's going to be a little bit of an uphill battle for Eaton, depending on what Frazier drew.
Yes.
I couldn't quite see what he banished. I think it was a blaster that he banished. So let's see if he just goes for a blaster or a Trigon there. Yeah, so he used a blaster with the 7-star sword. And it looks like he's got a pretty varied hand, not all monsters, all spells, traps, anything like
Yeah,
that.
his hand looks pretty solid.
Yeah. So I'm curious as to what's going to happen in games 2 and 3 because we have seen in Dragon Ruler mirror matches people citing out obviously the return from the different dimension. I don't know if Frazier is going to be able to give Eaton that courtesy this time.
Yeah, I would have to say no.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, people don't view Evilswarm as that well of a deck.
Exactly. Evilswarm has almost become the new Six Samurai deck for some people, just because of how predominant level 5 and higher monsters have become again.
Right. Even just like when Rescue Rabbit, you summon your monster, set all your back rows, and ride it home.
Exactly.
Some people don't consider that playing Yu-Gi-Oh. Of course, playing Return obviously isn't playing Yu-Gi-Oh either, but I mean, once you get into top 16, you have to do what you have to do to win.
Mm-hmm. Let's see here. All right, so let's see here. And Frazier's just taking his time to think about his plays. We do have a Dragon Ravine up, but Eaton does main deck 3 MSTs and the Evilswarm Kitos that he was talking about with us in his interview. So we'll see if he can get that and just keep that Dragon Ravine off the field. Yeah, because that is one of the biggest weaknesses of the new Dragon deck. Is if you can get rid of the Ravine, then they can't keep their constant advantage flowing because they can't keep all the colors live.
Unfortunately, I feel like Frazier's hand is so solid that just the one Ravine ditch will be enough to get him there. As long as I can't really see everything else, but it looks. I think I see a Mirror Force. I'm not sure.
He does have a max. He does have a max C, so that will be possibly a little dead unless Eaton has the Kage to Kage, because then he will at least get a +1 off of that.
Or even the Rescue Rabbit.
Yeah. So the Rescue Rabbit, the Kage to Kage. And possibly, if he does the Castor and he has to go into the...
He'll be able to 1-for-1 the max.
Exactly. So, not as dead as last format Evilswarms for sure, but still, definitely not the greatest card to have in for them. And he does main deck 3 Maxis as well, so I think that might hurt him a little bit in game 1. But just a little. Okay, so looks like
He's using Redox effect, he's discarding Dandelion to bring back Blaster.
So we get 2 tokens. Now, this is what Frazier was talking about in one of our interviews with him yesterday, is that his Dandelion has been the MVP card of his deck. Most people just kind of pushed off Dandelion. It's not that great of a card because, it didn't add that many plays for some reason. People weren't getting tokens to use with the Draco Sack, or Draco Sack to use with tokens, but he doesn't use the tokens for Draco Sack. He just uses the tokens as defense. The way he put it, if he Black Roses the field, he still has two tokens to defend himself.
Yep.
So now he's brought out do you think he's going to go, what synchro do you think he's going to go for here? Do you think he's going to go for a formula and draw one? Because he does play the formula, but that doesn't really leave him with much after that. But he could go for Mistborn Colossus, which would actually be a big hurt on Evilswarms.
The Colossus definitely helps against Opion. And it looks like that is what he will be doing, so he'll keep the formula on the field probably. If he goes after the formula, he'll probably synchro for Mistborn Colossus. He does have the Mirror Force as well to protect it if need be.
Absolutely. Now, if he does get if Eaton does get the Ophion out in the first turn and tries to attack over the Colossus, if that is what's coming out, then the Mirror Force isn't really going to help Frazier because he will just search for the Pandemic almost right away, guaranteed.
So he's going to definitely get some Drago Sack tokens.
Okay. So
this will give him options for a level 8 synchro. So if his hand is really solid, he could definitely go for Stardust, Colossal, Scrap Dragon.
Let's see, what main deck could he use? Does he use that could get him out of this situation, really? Because
if he doesn't go for Stardust, he definitely has Dark Hole.
But then he would still have the Draco Sack,
because he would have a scapegoat token. To protect it.
Yep. So let's see. I'm not exactly sure.
It's looking really bad right now for
Frazier. We did release the top 16 deck list before the event, like Metagame used to do, so the players do know what they're going against before sitting down for the match. So it's while I'm not sure if we would have seen this kind of aggressive playstyle from Frazier if he knew he was going against a Dragon Mirror, he definitely knows that he needs to get on the field before Ophion hits it. Now, there is one thing that I saw that Eaton, not one thing that I saw, there's one thing that Eaton will have a problem with. Evilswarms in the main deck have a very difficult time getting over big monsters.
Oh, yeah.
So if they can't get Ophion out first, they have a very difficult time getting over these big
once things
monsters.
are there, they're basically there, unless... And with the limiting of things like compulsory, it makes it much more difficult to get rid of things.
Exactly.
So we could see something like
Okay, so it looks like Frazier's just going for some defense, but he can of course use formula on his turn. So he says he'll just have to use it before Ophion comes out. Yeah. And he did. Looks like he did set the Mirror Force, but we'll see if that actually comes in useful for him, because Eaton may not be reading Mirror Force, and he may just or if he does not have the Pandemic in hand, because he only does run 2. Then he may just summon monsters blindly and just go to attack the tokens and then overlay. Because he definitely
could go into something like Bahamut and try to steal a Synchro Monster Frazier makes or the Draco Sack.
Yeah. At this point, stealing the Draco Sack probably would not be a bad idea.
So he just, at the start of his main phase, it looks like, he max Ds.
Yeah, because he wants to make sure that Eaton debates on whether or not to actually make any plays right now, because because Frazier is down to 1 card in hand. Now, granted, with Dragon Ravine and with Dragons in the Grave, that can be, an infinitely many cards probably. But Frazier wants to make sure that he gets that if Eaton is going to go out, that he's going to get some cards.
Yeah, I just find it odd to drop the max C right now.
Yeah.
You could just play whenever he summons a monster, forcing him to play something right now, unless Frazier's just trying to play the game where, well, if he drops the max C, it could make him not play any cards at all, and then Frazier could just kill him next turn.
All right, so it looks like that's Allure of Darkness, so we won't see, unfortunately, the Allure Mystical Ref Panel combo, but, 1 card in Frazier's hand wouldn't really do much for him.
Right. If he discards some dragons or something anyway, it's not, not that relevant.
Absolutely. So, since it's looking a little sour right now, and it looks like Eaton's just going through the deck and doing some drawing here, let's see. Let's just do some math here real quick, because he did activate an Upstart Goblin, so it is still Eaton at 9,000, Frazier at 8,000, if I'm not mistaken, because there has been no other damage. So, but let's look at Eaton's side deck. What do you think is going to come in here? He does main deck the 1 ref panel, so
right, that'll probably definitely stay in. He will definitely go with his Dimensional Fissure and Soul Drain. He said he didn't really like Macrocosmos, so we might not side that in. We definitely have Max C, Ghost Imagine, Imperial Iron Wall.
Yeah.
Those all seem
Thunder
like
King is actually pretty hurtful to dragons as well, from what I've seen.
Yeah, I don't
if you have a way to stop their summons, then Thunder King just makes it even worse by stopping their searches.
Right, yeah. Going first, I probably would also consider siding in Thunder King. Less so going second, but...
Absolutely. So, looks like we've got 2 on the field.
Yeah,
2 caster.
2 casters.
And looks like we're debating on what we're going to do, because he probably is debating on whether or not to go Bahamut and take the Draco Sack and just kind of wipe the field clean of tokens. But if he does that, then the formula can just make the tokens into a big monster.
So he might be considering trying to go into battle phase first to try to kill some tokens.
And force out the special summon.
Yeah, and if there's no pandemic in his hand, he's probably this is not very good for him.
Absolutely.
The Mirror Force will definitely get better.
The Mirror Force will hurt a lot. Now, one thing that Eaton has to make sure happens is he does have to kill the Formula Synchron, because if he doesn't, on the next turn it's going to become or if he makes Ophion and doesn't kill it, on the next turn it's going to become a Colossus.
Yep. But so he tried to enter battle phase, and Frazier said before, still main phase, going to Scrap Dragon.
Absolutely. So now he has the choice, because if he goes, he could go.
So this is very.
I would actually like if he went for Bahamut right now.
Yeah, Bahamut would be really good. I wonder.
Yeah, he could clear the field right now if he made Bahamut.
Frazier would draw 1. So if he took the Draco Sack, he would get tokens, and then Frazier draw another.
Yeah, but then you could top the Ravine, so he would have 3 cards in hand, no Ravine, no back row, and no monsters on the field. He would have dragons, obviously.
You would have dragons.
But I don't remember what is still live at this point.
So this is
it is an Ophion. So He's just wanting to stop the play. He does not run a mind control or anything like that, so I'm really curious as to how he's going to get over the Scrap Dragon.
He does run. He has Forbidden Dress.
Yeah, he has Forbidden Dress and he has a Book of Moon that he can use to run over the Scrap Dragon, but then the Ophion or the Draco Sack will just pop in the next turn.
Yeah, so
he's got to have some way of clearing the field, otherwise he's going to just lose his monsters. Now, he could have a safe zone in hand, of course,
yeah.
But with both of them, they can just pop the safe zone in the next turn. It'll slow down Frazier for a turn, maybe two, but it's not going to hurt nearly as bad.
Oh, Wing Blast. It's not Mirror Force.
Okay, so he discards the one, and there's the Pandemic. So he did have the Pandemic. So he's probably going to go for another Pandemic here. He's not going to take a risk of getting the infection. Right. Well, I actually lied. He got the infection right away. So, or the infestation infection, yes. So he definitely wants to maintain hand advantage and get Kirkions out, so he can keep the flow of Ophions and rank 4 Xyz on the field. Okay.
He did have the Book of Moon to kill the Scrap Dragon.
Okay. So now you just have all he can do is just really kind of.
So we know he has the Infestation in hand.
Yeah.
Other good cards he would have right here would definitely be Compulse. Safe Zone would definitely buy him another turn to get rid of Dragosack, depending on whether or not what he tries to destroy with the tokens.
Mm-hmm.
If he goes for a back row,
the two best cards that he could have down right now are going to be Safe Zone and Compulse. If he doesn't have one of those, there's not really going to be much that he'll be able to do to get over the Dragosack.
Yeah.
And that's going to be his number one thing that he has to get over.
So it definitely wasn't a Compulse, because he would have compulsed it before he would be able to get tokens.
Exactly. Now, of course, with Ophion, it just says you cannot special summon level 5 or higher monsters.
Yeah, so he could definitely tribute.
He could just tribute the tokens and just run over it with Blaster, or Tempest is the one with 26, isn't it?
Tempest is 24,
Title is the 26. Title's the 26. So, looks like we have it's going to be interesting to see what each player does here, because while it looked like Eaton was definitely out really badly.
Yeah, he definitely
he's staying in. He's staying in pretty good. So let's just see what goes on here.
I'm just very surprised that Frazier did not set the Mirror Force as well. I swore I saw Mirror Force in his hand.
Absolutely. It could be just that we're seeing we do see things just like you do, so it's a little blurry, a little skewed. So we may not be able to see exactly what cards they have. So it is a lot of guesstimation. Now, the life point count for those that are just joining us, because we do have a little over 200 viewers now, is Eaton is at 8,000, Frazier's at 9,000, because Eaton did use an Upstart Goblin. Other than that, no other damage has been dealt yet. This is only turn 3 of game 1 between Eaton Guo and Frazier Smith in the top 16 of ARG Circuit Series, Columbus, Ohio.
They would be over there. I'm very surprised that Eaton actually is using Upstart Goblin. He only plays 2 of them, which I've always found a little bit odd.
Yeah, usually it's one of those things that you run 3 of or none of, is what I've found. But, I always hate that time when you're like, Upstart Goblin, draw Upstart Goblin.
Yeah. I thought I was very surprised not to see something more like Phoenix Chain.
Mm-hmm.
Very surprised I don't see that in this deck.
Yeah. Phoenix Chain is one of those things that I have a love-hate relationship with it.
Oh,
because
absolutely, especially right now.
Yeah, it's one of those things that it's great because it stops the effects and it stops the attacks for now, but it's never a permanent solution, because they can always
immediately deal with the monster,
or they can just MST it away and it's and you're good to go. Right. Phoenix Chain is just not as strong as it used to be, unfortunately. We're not going against tour guides anymore. So I think that's whenever it was kind of at its heyday, was whenever we had cards like Tour Guide that got their effect only once and only once. So.
Yeah, it's just with the increasing amount of play with Dragoonity list, Phoenix Chain definitely helps there.
So it looks like looks like one of the cards he had set was MST to get rid of the Dragon Ravine, so he discarded a card for no reason. But in Dragons, it's not as big of a deal. But I think he discarded a Cards of Consonance instead of a Dragon.
Yep. Frazier plays 2 Cards of Consonance.
Mm-hmm. So now that's actually the play I want to talk about real quick was the MST over the Dragon Ravine, because some players will always wait for them to discard first, and some players will just space it right away before they activate it. Where do you stand on that?
I'll always wait for them to discard it, because if they're discarding a dragon, having it in grave is not much better, but it still leaves them an element that they cannot discard for a secondary effect.
Absolutely.
The
only reason that I ask is because there are obviously the two big variants right now. There's the regular Dragon Rulers that are just pure, run debris, or they have the tech cards like that. But then there are also the Dragoonity Rulers. The Dragoonity Rulers are a bit different because they thrive off of having Phalanx in the grave. So I would say it's more beneficial to have, when you're going against the Dragoonity Rulers specifically, not regular Dragon Rulers, but Dragoonity Rulers specifically, to get rid of. You can get rid of it.
It's a very good point. If there's a Ducks play out there that would definitely get you. So
now I must have missed it. Did
Banished Tempest?
But the Ophion's no longer on the field. So did he drop? He didn't drop Double Blaster because he just special summoned Blaster. Maybe I think he just went into battle phase and attacked over it, because I don't think that there was anything else that he could have done.
Yeah.
So
that's all the tokens.
Got to
ref
so
panel.
There's the ref panel to put him back in the game, hopefully. So if he did go into battle step to attack over the Ophion for 100 damage, that just puts him 1100 over. But now he has no cards to his 2, but he does have the field. So that was what happened. He just went into battle phase and attacked over it. So now Eaton's sitting with 3 cards in hand, showing us that Mystical Ref Panel main deck is a good thing. Let's see what he can do here, because he needs to, once again, unless he's got the cards for it, he needs to get rid of that Draco Set.
So he drew into a Kirkion.
Which is good for him, because now he doesn't need to use the Infestation to search for it. He can use it to search for something that has a bit more utility in the situation.
Right. So it definitely looks like something. What is this? Attack all the tokens.
Attack all tokens. So what's gonna happen here? Okay. So what if he's going for Bahamut? Is it Ophion or Bahamut? Because one thing that he could do is if he goes for a Bahamut play, which I don't think is smart right now because he still has the dragons in the grave, he could use the Infestation to send back the caster and add another monster to hand for discarding. But it looks like it is just going to be an Ophion search for another card, because now the only way that Draco's Sack can get over it is
Draco's Sack attacking. It can actually tribute itself.
You can tribute itself. I forget that. So,
but
hopefully he's got some actual trap cards here.
Oh, Dark Hole Chain Infestation. That is very, very bad for Frazier.
That is very, very bad for Frazier. So let's see what happens here, because now he can use the Infestation
to put back and get another
and get a Kirkion.
Yeah. This was a terrible turn of events for Frazier.
Yeah, absolutely. He started off really strong, and he played pretty much perfectly. There hasn't been really a misplay by Frazier that I've seen so far.
So we've seen all Frazier cards except for one card was in his hand. Is that right? Or does he have no cards at all?
He has no cards in hand.
So there was no Mirror Force.
There was no Mirror
Unless
Force.
he just carded for Ravine, I didn't see.
Yeah, there was not a Mirror Force that I saw. It was just that Phoenix Wing, and it probably just looked very similar.
Yeah.
So, but Eaton's kind of got this down.
Yeah, it looks like game one's about over.
Yeah.
Also, something I want to bring up is there were 2 non-dragon decks in our top 16, and one of the matches, the other player played Constellars, and that player is actually moving on to top 8 now. So that's very interesting.
Wonderful, wonderful. And that was Sean McCabe.
Yeah, Sean McCabe
took that match. So it's looking really sour for Frazier, because now we're back at him. Frazier couldn't do anything with the 1 card in hand. So I'm smelling that Eaton's going to just go for game right now.
Yeah.
And he's sending the Kirkion back to grab Heliotrope, because it's kind of, probably a little dead in the deck. Plus, he can just recycle it back if he needs to. And let's see, so Frazier was at 9,000 still, so this will be first damage dealt to him. That is quite a bit of damage. Frazier will not be able to survive another turn if he doesn't draw something. But I think he's pretty.
I can't think of any double. He hasn't played anything like Dark Hole. Yeah.
And I believe that's going to be a pandemic that goes. Or I think he's just going to get. I think he grabbed another no, he already used both pandemics. So he does not have one yet, or any more, I should say. Yes. But there's not really anything.
There's the cards.
Okay.
All right. So taking that game 1 for Evilswarm was very important.
Absolutely. So that makes a huge difference because that means that game 3, if it comes to that, Eaton will be going first. So.